All right, welcome to week 4. All right, so first of all, I owe each of you an apology. In my haste to make sure that I got everything prepared for the class, it's a new class for me. I have not taught this class before, so I copied a shell over from the professor who left and then modified it. But I did not include on the discussions my normal comment about making sure that you submit your initial post on a discussion no later than Wednesday night at midnight. So the reason I do this is you've probably all been involved in a group project or in discussion where you have to respond to so many people and you're waiting and waiting and waiting till the last minute on the due date for that other input so that you can finish your work. It's not fair to you and it doesn't generate good quality discussion. So I want to make sure that from here on out that you get your initial discussion post in by Wednesday night, and then that way we focus on actually discussing the topic, exchanging ideas, thinking about things, challenging people. So let's make sure that we do that from here on out, and I've edited the other discussions that are remaining in the semester to make sure that I have that note. All right, so this week we're going to look at Chapter 5, and we're going to talk about recruiting and selecting employees. Recruiting and selecting. Are they the same thing? Are they part of the same process? Yeah. Are they exactly the same thing? No. Recruiting process, you're actually looking at what is my candidate pool? Where do I look for people? How do I advertise? And then once I have that candidate pool, how do I narrow that pool down to get to the right candidate to hire? So let me give you an example of my last job and how we tackled the issues that a lot of organizations will face. So you may have heard sometimes in other workplaces, you may have heard the term, oh, it's a good old boy network there. And what people really mean by that is that how you get promoted, how you get hired, what positions you get, what work you get are not necessarily based on the quality of your work or the skills that you have, but more based on who you know, what favors you can cash in. So how do we get past that? How do we get to the best qualified candidates? So here's what we did. We had an issue with the good old boy network at my last organization. And the key is that we've got to put in place processes that are objective in nature and not subjective in nature, that are fair and balanced across the board, that everybody can understand, that everybody knows, and that they believe are fair and equitable. So the first process you're going to look at is how do we advertise? Where do we advertise? What decision do we make about how wide to cast the net? Are we going to advertise this position just internally to the company and make it a promotion for somebody? So what happens there is you have to make sure that you have a broad enough candidate pool to make it competitive. If you only have one or two, you probably don't want to look at an internal hire. You want to open it up to the external resources and let people compete to drive improvement in the organization. If you have a good number, 5 to 10, maybe you have a good enough candidate pool and you can have a closed advertisement just internal to the organization. Keeping in mind that every internal hire that you make or for promotion just creates another hole in the organization. So you're just moving the vacancy around, but certainly we want to offer people an opportunity to be promoted within the organization. All right, so let's say now we've decided where we're going to advertise and how wide. The first step is looking at resumes. And how do I narrow that candidate pool down? So we talk about things like critical knowledge, skills, and abilities, or KSAs in some places. Those things that are absolutely necessary to perform that job. And we can use automated screening, manual screening to look through resumes and see those that fit that criteria. Now, once we've narrowed that down, we kind of rack and stack in great order the resumes, then we can logically come to maybe the top 5 to 10 candidates to interview. But when we get to the interview process, we also have to make it objective, fair and balanced. Make it where anybody who comes in and is going through the resume screening and the interview process, the panel members or those people reviewing the resumes or conducting the interviews should logically come out with the same type of score based on the information that the candidate is providing. So we want to make sure that we balance that out, that we have a fair and equitable process, and we'll cover that as we go through the chapters, or chapter 5 this week. And then you're going to find that once you put that in place, once you have that fair and equitable process, employees will understand it, employees will appreciate it, and the truth of the matter is there's only one person who's going to be absolutely satisfied with the hiring process. That's the person who gets hired. Everybody else is going to have some level of dissatisfaction. But as long as people perceive the process to be fair and equitable and the outcome right, then they'll get behind the process and won't have an issue with it. All right, so good reading this week. I look forward to seeing your work, and I hope each of you has a great week. Thank you.